What is up, DDD fam and YouTube? It's your boy Brennan, aka Drip, back with another video and deck profile. And in today's deck profile, we got CRUSADIA. Now, for the members of the channel who's been here for a long time, fun fact: CRUSADIA was actually the very first deck profile I put on the channel. I put CRUSADIA Blue Eyes. Because back then all the guard dragons were legal and stuff, and you could just link climb and climb your way into the guard dragons, and they would help you facilitate your Blue Eyes cards. So it made me, and also someone messaged me or commented a while ago, like almost like 6 months ago probably, asking me to revisit CRUSADIA. And I apologize it took me this long to do so. There's a lot going on with work and just trying to get other decks going, and I didn't really think that this deck was as competitive as I thought at the time, so it took me a while to revisit. But here recently I'm kind of getting bored playing the same decks over and over again, so also I wanted to revisit, and after I said I would revisit it, so I went ahead and did so. One thing I will say is this deck can be very budget, I will say. So if you are looking to pick up a deck that is very budget, or you're new to the game and you want to kind of learn the summoning mechanic of linking and stuff like that, this is definitely the deck for you. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. It will help you get like reacquainted with Yu-Gi-Oh along with learning links and stuff like that. So it's not a very hard deck to learn. Granted, the secondary engine I'm running in here can be kind of hard to learn, because it can kind of make you like get a little confused, and then you got to worry about placements and stuff like that. But overall, this deck is actually at least it's very budget. It can be very budget. Now, my build is not budget, but we will talk about budget alternatives as we go along. And yeah, one thing I will say, guys, is this deck is actually very powerful. It has its flaws, it has its weaknesses. That's obviously why you haven't seen me use it at my locals. I have a very smaller locals, one thing I will say. It's a smaller locals, and a lot of it mainly is like control. And if one thing you need to know about this deck going in is that it really is normal summon reliant. No, it doesn't get effects off of normal summon, but it does get like, it auto loses to like when you lose board presence, if that makes sense. Now, once you get your engine flowing, you don't auto lose to it as much, but it still hurts. So like anything that pops, like DPE, Compulse, Ice Dragon's Prison, anything that just gets rid of your board presence, Ogre, stuff like that's going around. So like this deck kind of struggles with that unless you have the proper hand to stop that. But another thing I will say before we get into this, sorry I am talking so much, it's just I want to get all this explained. There are so many different variations of this deck that things you can do with this deck. It all just is based upon how far you want to take it, along with how much you like the archetype and how much money you have. So like there's this variation. There's the straight just OTK variation that runs the kaijus and the kaiju slumbers and all that stuff. Which this one, obviously, if you couldn't already tell by the thumbnail, is CRUSADIA MEKK-Knight. So, yeah. And then there's the third option where not very many people are running it, but this deck can actually utilize it and run it, and that's the Brave engine. But at that point, like, you're basically playing Brave, but you are, I mean, I don't know. You are still kind of playing this, but I don't know. You can switch up a couple of things in the extra deck and run it. I'm not paying for the Brave stuff, no matter how competitive it is, but I will say Brave in this deck would be really disgusting, because they don't rely on any normal summon effects. They just rely on their normal summon, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's so many different variations. There's probably some that I'm failing to mention, but I like this one the best. It has the more middle ground. It doesn't like auto lose if your opponent makes you go first. It doesn't auto lose in the grind game. It can actually grind and do things that other decks can't. But let's go ahead and get into this, guys. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting. Started off, a lot of it's going to be very standard, and it's going to be 3 Maximus, 3 of my original waifu, fun fact, Arborea, 3 Draco, 2 Reclesia, and 2 Skipper. Let me go ahead and put this down here. Sorry, don't keep it in the frame. All right, let me talk about my ratios, okay? So, in like somewhat like quick explain what they do. So they all basically have the same general effect, except for Skipper. He don't count. We'll get to him in a second. All of them have the same effect when that you can normal summon them and then special summon them to the zone a link monster points to, any of them. But they all have a secondary effect that kind of plays a part. Maximus is basically what you want to special summon him to a zone a link monster points to when you're trying to OTK. Arborea is the best one to get on field or engrave because she is the best one right now, definitely since guard dragons are gone. So Draco, for his like overall utility, is like, it's not as big as he once was, but he is still, my personal opinion, the second most important one besides Arborea. So Arborea's effect, and remind you, she is a tuner, so you can synchro with her and all that. So Arborea's effect, you can banish her from field or grave to protect a Crusadia from being destroyed by card effects. So it comes up a lot when you're using your own effects and when you are using your own effects. So and on top of that, she is also a Hulk target, which plays a big part in like if just trying to facilitate her board presence and everything like that, because there's sometimes, even though she is actually like the only real tuner we run, we still use her to bring out Hulk to bring out another copy of herself just to get board presence. On top of that, we need an extra deck monster for obvious reasons in the extra deck. So, but fun fact, she also does protect from battle too. I forgot to say that too. I just wanted to say card effects too, but she protects anything from being destroyed by battle or card effects. So she, by far, in my personal opinion, is the best one, by far. And then the next best one would be Draco. Even though the guard dragons are gone, I still prioritize Draco because he is the reason for your Crusadias being able to be grindy, because this deck kind of struggles sometimes when you don't have a Crusadian hand. That's why we run so many. I do not run Leonis. There's no single part of that card, not even being a Crusadia, I've found enough to actually run that card. He doesn't provide enough utility for me personally. But Draco, when he's special summoned to a monster a monster points to, you can add any of your Crusadias back from your graveyard to your hand, which also means you can recycle your link monsters. So all your Crusadia monsters you can recycle back. So he's the one that stays in your grind game, and if you don't need to recycle any of your extra deck monsters back, you can just recycle anything that's not him, has his name, back to your hand, and you have a starter somewhat the next turn as long as you have an extender. So that's the reason why we run him. And then a Reclesia, he is basically your pop. You can special summon him to zone a link monster points to, tribute himself to pop a card on the field. So he's really nice. Definitely when you get him going and DPE going, you're just pop. You can break basically almost the whole freaking field almost, it seems like, with just them two alone. So it's really nice in that regard. And then Skipper. Skipper, excuse the French one, Tanner. But no, Skipper, he basically copies a name and becomes that name and basically stats and stuff. So you just reveal the link 3 equal max, and then you can link this off into the Magus, sorry. So he basically is any other name. So we theoretically run, what, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 starters, which is fine in this build. Moving on to, that's it for the Crusadia monsters. Moving on to the Mekk-Knights. We got 3 purple Nightfall, 2 blue, 1 indigo, and only 1 Mekk-Knight Orcus Gear Suit. One thing I will say real quick, I want to go back and say real quick, sorry to backtrack. If you normal summon this and you use his effect to try to copy and they hit you with Imperm, we do play the Link Karibo for that, because I know someone's probably going to ask that. I want to go ahead and talk about that now, just in case if I skip over it. You can use the Link Karibo, and the Link Karibo points downward, and then you can just special summon any of your Crusadias there too. So I want to go ahead and talk about that now before we get there, just in case if I forget when we get there. Sorry. But in this current build, this is all you need Mekk-Knight wise, because this is enough to get your engine going, your Mekk-Knight engine, and to continuously just keep putting bodies on board. We don't run any more Gear Suit because we want to normal summon our Crusadias in order to link up into our Crusadia Link monsters. Granted, this one still does provide some utility as a normal summon mid to late game, and even if you don't see no Crusadias, because even though we do run 13, there are some situations, because RNG hates us, you don't see a single one, or you only see one, but you can, and you would have to normal summon this, bait out the Ash or whatever, and then just use this and do standard Mekk-Knight stuff where you get to token, give them the token, make Link Karibo, then you can special summon from there, and then you can potentially just do Mekk-Knight stuff along with Crusadia stuff and just completely just go off. But yeah, that's it for the Mekk-Knight engine. Moving on to the rest of like the generic like monsters and stuff like that. I am still opting to run the Godarlas, because Flunder is still running Barrier Statue. On top of that, you'll see that this build alone is not running very many hand traps, is because granted this deck can go first and likes to go first or second, it don't matter. I didn't want to, with this deck alone, the way I built this deck and the way I feel this deck runs, you can't run too many hand traps, because you need all the like flexible spots that you can have, if that makes sense, like cards that allows you to have recursion or cards that will extend. Granted, yes, every deck that has a bunch of 1 card to 2 card combos like this one has, you can usually run a crap ton of hand traps. I chose not to. I chose to either run board breakers or just really high impact cards to help me break my opponent's board. On top of that, this helps facilitate OTKs, because you can just summon this into a zone that equal max would point to, and just, yeah, go from there. Then we run the Parallel Exceed. We only run 2, not 3, because you're only going to resolve this once, and I don't want the third one in my deck. That there's no real way to get it out of my hand. So I just want the one, and if I see both of them, it's fine. It's whatever. At that point, it just happens. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! But we can search this off of the Formid Skipper, the little guy, this guy. We can search him off of this. When he gets sent to the graveyard, he searches Parallel Exceed. So he basically not only just refills your hand, but he also supplies you with an additional extender, which is nice too. So yeah. And then we run the World Crown, because it's just a generic free extender. On top of that, it's a World Legacy card, and we kind of do need the names in order to get our Mekk-Knight shenanigans rolling. So it's a nice extender. It's a negate too, because if once my opponent will activate anything from the extra deck's effect, you can just tribute this and pop. There's a lot of people that actually do not know that about this card. I've played a lot of people and they don't know what the hell this card does, and they'll just go and like they'll just link into Hulk and just do a bunch of shenanigans, use Hulk, and I'll just tribute this off to negate their Hulk, and they're like, what the hell just happened? I'm like, wand, baby, wand. And then to get really toxic, we are main decking the Scythe. So if we decide to go first, we're never playing against combo, we have it in there. Because obviously I already told you we are running DPE. This deck can easily, and I mean easily, get you into the Scythe lock. No problem. No freaking problem. How fast this deck can link climb and get you into your Dagda and your DPE. So yeah, with, if not potentially having more interruptions. Like if you open just straight gas, you can just freaking just do everything. You do Mekk-Knight combo, and then Scythe lock them too. So you basically fill your grave with Mekk-Knights, and then you Scythe lock them, and then you have other negates with your Mekk-Knights too, if you need to. And then on a follow-up, you're just going to OTK them with your board and your Crusadias just being Crusadias. So it's really nutty in that regard. And then obviously I said we're running the DPE engine. Obvious 2 and 2, obviously, because this went to 2. Nothing really needs to be said about that. That's actually it for the monsters. Now moving on to the Spells. I got 3 droplet because it is necessary. It's better than Chalice, and it's better than Dark Ruler by far. But if you don't have access to this card, your budget alternative would be Chalice, not Droplet. I mean, not Dark Ruler, which at this point I don't even think Dark Ruler is really that much budget anymore. You need the quick play factor to try to stop your opponent from scythe locking you for the ones that do use it. So on top of that, it could also, you never freaking know, you can negate your own shit and then increase the attack if you need just a little smidge of attack just to finish and poking your opponent off. So yeah. Then I am opting to run 2 Cosmic because Cosmic, there's a lot of floodgates, skill drain, floodgates running around. And 2, you can use this in your standby phase when your opponent tries to scythe lock you too, to get rid of their scythe as well and like chain to their DP. You just wait for them to chain DPE. This will be a higher link in the chain. You just chain this because you obviously know which one's going to be the scythe, and you just banish the scythe flat out and don't have to deal with it. So multiple utility factors when it comes to this card. Then we got the 1 succession for the Monster Reborn, since we run links basically. 1 memory, 1 Monster Reborn itself. That's it for the spells. Obviously, you want to activate this on your opponent's turn to get you access to your Mekk-Knights rolling if you don't see any of your Mekk-Knights. So, and then the last card in the main deck is obviously the secrets, because we like negating our opponent's stuff. Yeah, 40 card list. Moving on to the extra deck. Not much I would really change in the main. If you want to change anything and you didn't want to main deck the scythe, main deck World Legacy Key. If you want, it's basically secrets but for trap cards, which it comes up clutch a lot. Definitely, like when you lose, if you lose the die roll and you're going up against like a trap outlich deck and you hard draw that, you're and like in a Mekk-Knight, you're just golden, Pony Boy. Like you're just golden. Yeah, and what's nice is since the key doesn't allow them to resolve, like they just basically stay there, and then it forces your opponent to try to find a way to get them off the field, because since like they don't go to the graveyard, they just stay like negated on the field basically. So it's really nice in that regard. But moving on, obviously we got 2 Magias. Magius is like your main road over the deck. You need 2, 1 for the first combo, 1 for the grind, and just have the 1 in there so before you have to recycle the second one with Draco. You don't need a third. If you ever find yourself in a third, then you're just probably not recycling your resources properly. So moving on with the next link, we got the Link Rebo, obviously, so we can link off our token from Girsu, also our Formid Skipper if they impermis, so because then we still have a link we can special a Crusadia to. On to the Link 2s. The next one is obviously Verte. Verte is Verte. I really I shouldn't have to say anything about this card. And you guys are not ready for this. The most broken card in this freaking entire extra deck is this card right here. This card right here. This is my favorite Crusadia card in the extra deck. I don't know. I'll probably say that again later. But right now, this is my favorite card. This has been my favorite card since the entire time I've played I've tinkered with this deck. I'm not going to say played because I only played it a little bit. One thing, before I go into her effect and reveal, like even though some people probably know what her effect is, but before I break down how busted her effect is, let me say one thing. Why in the hell do we get to see her cheeky thighs, bro? Her cheeky thighs. But my dudes won't give us the lost art of freaking, what's her name? Where's she at, babe? Where's babe at? Right here. Look, they got her all covered up. Her legs covered up. If y'all know and play EDO, her thighs be all revealed, man. Messed up. Give me that Crusadia Arborea Lost Art, Konami, please. But anyways, no, this card is just ridiculously good. If you don't know what it does, is obviously it can gain the attack of whatever it points to. That's That's a given. A lot of the Crusadias have that effect, but it's a busted ass effect. Is once per turn, whenever, basically to summarize, is once per turn, basically whenever a monster is special summoned to a zone a link monster she points to. So you special summon anything to a zone she points to. You can move any special summon. Is it a special summon monster? You can target one monster. No, not even special summon. Target one monster in either player's zones and move them. So not only can you manipulate your own zones, you can manipulate your opponent's zones. So basically, for an example, if you special summon, like you're doing Crusadia stuff and you're holding your Mekk-Knights, you can special summon something she points to, and then move your opponent's board to manipulate to your Mekk-Knights. So say you have a blue in hand and you want to search 2, you can use her effect to move something into where they'll have 2 cards in one column, and then special summon blue and go off. On top of that, this card, it's so basically indirectly, if you know anything about Mekk-Knights, this card is a indigo basically for your entire deck, plus your opponent's field too. Which also comes up too, because once you drop the kaiju when they're noggin, if you accidentally mess up and you put it in the wrong zone, you could just manipulate it with this and put it wherever you want, but make sure you always put it in front of either extra monster zone, so Equamax will be pointed to. So whatever extra monster zone you're using at the time, just put it in front so it's pointing at it, and Equamax will be pointing to it. But no, this manipulates your zones or your opponent's. So like, it gives your entire deck utility. It's ridiculous. This one and Regulex is actually the only Crusadias that don't have a higher rarity than freaking common. Fun fact in the extra deck. But then we got Hauky boy. He's just our boy. He's there to bring out another, because sometimes, like when you, like I said, when you have Arborea on field, you need to make this to bring out another Arborea, because be able to link up into Avermax, you need 2 monsters from the extra deck. So basically, you just replace the board and make this with another link 2 or whatever, and then just make your Avermax. So it replenishes your board along with giving you an extra deck monster to be able to link with into Avermax, if that makes sense. Then one Morningstar. Morningstar is obvious, he searches. One broken freaking lib, card nasty, non-target, sin, blah, blah, blah. Equamax. This card's ridiculous. This is your OTK card, by the way. This is your OTK card. So basically, if you don't know, he gains attack for everything he points to, all of his link zones. So basically, you will summon the kaiju in front of him, summon big dudes, but underneath him, and just basically poke, and he gets really big. Also, he has a negate too. He has a negate factor. You can tribute a Crusadia he points to negate your opponent's monster on the field. So it's really gross too. But when you're pushing for OTK, but one thing I will say, fun fact, is whatever he points to cannot attack. But what's really nasty is when you pair it with DPE, as long as you did not use Maximus effect, because Maximus effect is you can target one monster on the field. Let me go read it to you real quick, because if you don't have access to DPE, like at least that turn, or you're just deciding not to run it, Maximus, you target a monster you control, and any battle damage that is dealt to your like opponent's monster, whatever damage he does is dealt double. So basically, you make him really huge. So you get him to like 7K, for an example. What is it? The thing is 27. Fun fact, when you have DPE on the field, DPE reduces all your opponent's monsters by 200 per hero in grave. So you have 2 heroes in grave, it puts him down by 400. So he goes down to, where's he at? He goes down to what, 2,300, and then let's say he's at like 7K, and then you use Maximus effect. You basically subtract 73 minus 23 times that by 2. So what was that, 6,500, 5,000, and then double that, you're doing 10,000 damage. GG. But let's say, for an example, you don't have access to Maximus to be able to do that double damage ordeal. Fun fact, sorry I keep going back and forth. I just want to make sure I cover everything. Once you use this effect, you can't tack with anything else that turn. So be careful about that. But anyways, let's say you didn't have access to Maximus, but you had 2 beat sticks over here. These 2 beat sticks could not attack because they're pointing to them. But one of them's DPE. You can play around that because DPE is stupid and generic. So basically, you get Equamax really huge. You poke, okay? You poke for a shit ton of damage. Chain DPE's effect, pop the Equamax and something else on their field to free up your other 2 monsters to poke and poke. So basically, because he can't do as much like I don't know. It's like you want to free up all your space to be able to OTK. So like you can attack and then DP, pop a card, and then attack with the rest of your board, and you're just golden. Which you could attack with the rest of your board anyway. It's just not whatever he's pointing to. But to unlock yourself, you can just use DP to pop an additional card and finish your opponent off, basically. Because you don't want to do it before because he won't be as big and you won't be able to poke for as much damage. So, sorry, I know that was probably like rambling on and was probably very confusing, but I just wanted to be able to cover all bases. So, theoretically, like you fully understand it, if you have access to Maximus and you use Maximus' effect, you're not going to be able to use the DP effect that I just said, and you better make sure you have OTK with this card with Maximus. 2, if you don't have access to Maximus, then you can just attack after you make him really big to do a crap ton of damage, and then just chain DP to pop this, pop another card on the field, and finish him off. The rest of the Link 3s, we got Unicorn. Unicorn's the last Link 3. Then we got Avermax. Obviously, he's a Mekk-Knight and a Crusadia, fun fact, so you get double the shit with this card because anything in this card's column, if you have secrets on field, gets negated because he's a Mekk-Knight. And then you can also protect him with Arborea because he's a Crusadia. So you get double whammy off this card. Fun fact, if you didn't know. And then we do run 1 Dweller. If we don't want to link off our parallel exceeds, we can just make this and flip the middle finger to Brave PK. And then we run 1 Savage. If you don't know, like I said, even though I did say Arborea is a tuner, we use Arborea and then we use our Blue Sky because 5 + 3 is 8. And we use that to make Savage. And it's really nutty sometimes because sometimes you make this on somebody and they're just like, what? You know, where'd that come from? And then the last card, obviously, in the deck is DPE. But that's it for this main deck. I am going to talk about it, so if you don't want to hear me talk, go ahead and click off the video now, and I appreciate you watching. Just please leave a like if you haven't already. All right, guys. Now that we got that aside, I want to talk about a few things. I have said this deck has multiple variations that you can run of the deck, and you can basically, this deck is very good and powerful at whatever stage you run it at. It just obviously has its weaknesses like a lot of decks do, which kind of makes it to where it cannot fill out very well in this format. Cards that are kind of like flexible. DPE is kind of flexible. And this is kind of flexible. I just use it because it's utility to go into Avermax. I know these cards are kind of expensive right now. Basically, and if you're not running DPE, then that means you could cut this too. These 3, but I really think if you have access to DPE to run it in this deck, because I know a lot of decks I've been building have DPE in it. I know I'm not trying to be that guy, but like it's a very good toolbox right now because it provides so much. It provides draws, it provides a constant board presence, it provides a pop. Definitely against trap decks, it's hard for them to keep up when you're just constantly setting them a turn back every time when you pop their traps that they just recently set. But if you are not wanting to run the DP engine, you can cut these 2 and this one, either the 3 cards I would replace in this effect, like for these 3, if I was running a cheaper version, I would make this probably Appaloosa. I would make this a second Equamax, so you can have a second one in there just in case you don't get you need to break it down to where you need to either recycle an Arborea or an Ecomax. You're not forced to recycle an Ecomax just to have it in the extra deck. And so Appaloosa, another Ecomax, and this one can be just literally any flex spot that I can think of off the top of my head. If I change my mind, I'll let you know in the comment section to let you know what the Hulk I would potentially swap out. But yeah. Another thing too, if you another thing I was trying out with this deck is but I don't have the money right now, is I was using the actual Hulk combo, So like this deck can do the standard combo, but I was using the Hulk combo to leave Hulk on field, tribute during my opponent's turn for the Formula Synchron to draw a card, and then I was using my my purple Nightfall or any level 8 I had on field besides DPE to sync into Baron de Fleur. Because you can potentially like double Scythe lock them that way, because you can Scythe lock them, and then for some reason if you don't OTK the following turn, after you linked off your stuff and you made a different board, you can use the Baron to resurrect the Scythe from grave again. So you can double Scythe lock them with that, and it's kind of nasty, but I don't have access to Baron right now, but I will soon in the future. But if you have access to that, then I would swap out, I would keep the extra deck the way it is. Just swap out the but by the way, 14. If you're wondering, the 15th card is Dagda. I don't have it. Sorry. If people are already in the comment section, I'm sorry. I'll end up putting in the comment section. My friend has it, and when I was going to run this at locals, he was going to let me borrow it. But yeah, the 15th card is Dagda. So, but if you want to try the Baron combo, you can take out the Dweller. It won't give you any like utility for rank 4s, but you can take out the Dweller for Baron, and then you can take out the Unicorn for the Formula Synchron, and try that out and see if you like it. But no, I like this deck the way it is. I would like to try the Baron combo once I get access to Baron, which I will have him soon, but I don't have access to him right now. But another thing too is, like I said before, this deck has multiple different variations you can use, and all of them are very fun. I just think this one's better because with my playstyle, and fits my playstyle more, because if you're running the Kaiju version, you go up against a back row deck, you just kind of auto lose, which kind of this deck kind of struggles with that anyways. But at least with the Mekk-Knights, it gives you some kind of a play, as of where if you're running a bunch of Kaijus and Kaiju slumbers and stuff, and your opponent doesn't really have any monsters or really do anything, if you can't OTK and break through their traps, they're just going to outgrind you because you're not going to have enough resources to do anything. So that's why it shows this variation of the deck, because you basically have something going on at all times, because both engines will pull each other's weight, and if not, pull the other engine, if that makes sense. So but yes, if you have all the money in the world and you want to run the Baron combo with the adventure token stuff, then yeah, this deck's potential could be, this ceiling could be ridiculously high. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that, because then if you think about it, if you're doing the adventure stuff, you would have an Omni Negate that can protect your normal summons and stuff to go off, and your Crusadias to effects to resolve and stuff. So the ceiling is even higher for you at that point. But yeah, but I'm not forking out the bread for that. But I like it where it's at, and it can somewhat compete somewhat at the same level if you think about it. Probably not, but oh well. But with that being said, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something today and took something away from this video. I really missed you guys. I really miss making videos for you guys all the time. But right now I'm in the labs trying to work on some things for you guys. Obviously, I'm always working for you guys, trying to bring out as best content as I possibly can, along with other kind of videos and stuff. But with that being said, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful night, morning, evening, whenever you're watching this video. Hope you all are staying safe out there in the age of COVID. Hit that like button and check out the merch and PayPal and everything down below. Your boy Drip out. Peace. Good dueling, my guys.